asked our guest, Taylor, and this was just for you, to translate that into a VIX number on Netflix. Scott Bauer of Prosper Trading Academy. You were a little bit reluctant to do this because it's not the way that you usually look at volatility on single stocks. But let's surprise Taylor on what the VIX is on Netflix in particular.
Okay, so Abigail, just as a quick kind of refresher on what the VIX is. The VIX measures the move in the S&P, the expected move in the S&P over the next year, an annualized move. So with the VIX trading about 15.5, that's predicting that the S&P is going to move 15.5% plus or minus over the next year. If you break that down to a daily basis, though, a one-day move, it's less than 1%. It's about 0.8%. Now, that same equivalent for Netflix with an 8% expected move, like you said, that the option market is pricing in, that correlates, if you were to use the same math, to a VIX of about 140. Now, that may sound absolutely astronomical and out of the park. I don't believe it is a fair comparison to look at the one-day move in an equity that has an earnings event coming out, that has a big event where we know the stock is going to move, versus a one-day move in the S&P. Nonetheless, that's how the math works out. That equivalent VIX would be 140 for just one day.
Well, that is pretty significant volatility, and you're certainly speaking Taylor's language, math, much more than my own, but great breakdown there, Scott. And, we're just talking about the earnings, because usually when I take a look at the EQRV function in the Bloomberg terminal on Netflix, earnings, the PE, it just blows me away. I've often seen it in a triple-digit number. Right now, it seems relatively modest, 51 times, yet the stock over the last couple of months up 27%. So you see this as a high bar quarter.
I think it's a really high bar, especially with Squid Games over the last, month or so, which is not going to be reflected in these numbers. It certainly is going to be reflected in their outlook, their estimates for Q4. And I think their estimates for Q4 are going to be much stronger than what they report for Q3. And the bottom line with Netflix is it usually comes down to the number of streaming paid memberships. The expectation is for about 220 million. That's going to be the key number to watch here. Mm-hmm. I think maybe the expectations have gotten ahead of themselves a little bit here. And from an options standpoint, from a trade that I'm making, is based on that expected move, which is about $38 or so that the market is pricing in. I'm looking for a range. I'm looking for Netflix to stay in that range of roughly 600 to 680 after the earnings come out.
Scott Bauer of Prosper Trading Academy, thanks so much for taking us through the math on the VIX, the Netflix volatility, along with that iron condor trade on Netflix. Thanks so much for joining us. Taylor, back to you.